Hello everyone and welcome to the second installment of the Gouv Stuff. This week's episode will be a bit different than the first one. I will still be recapping the top 3 stories from this past week, but will be previewing more than 3 for the upcoming week. Without further ado, the top story from this past week was the girls basketball team. Not only did they get their first Badger South Conference victory, but they got 2 within the span of 4 days after starting the conference season 0-7. Last Friday, Kaylee Harbert went 18 for 18 from the free throw line to set a new program record for free throws made with 100% accuracy, leading Milton to a 59-57 victory over visiting Monroe. Tuesday's game against state-ranked Madison Edgewood was moved up to Monday to avoid a potential snowstorm, and the Redhawks might have caught the Crusaders off guard a bit. Milton beat Edgewood 60-58 for its biggest win of the year so far. The second top story from this past week was the Milton boys hockey team getting a signature win that I talked about in last week's episode. Behind goals from Jaden Schroeder and Logan Servin, solid defense, and fantastic play and goal from Justin Berg, the Redhawks beat the rival Stoughton Vikings 2-1 and now have a win they can use to barter for a higher seed come playoff time. Milton also beat Viroqua on Saturday and has won 6 of its last 7 games. Third was the MHS wrestling team losing at Stoughton in the biggest duel of the season for both teams. Yes, it is a loss, but it's still a big and important story. Milton got wins from Tristan Woods, Evan Whitehead, Taylor Prohaska, Billy Pitzner, and Tom Rakestraw, but it wasn't enough to overcome the Vikings, who are ranked 5th in Division I.
All right, so now we're going to preview this upcoming weekend. Here I have with me Fort Atkinson sports reporter Jake Onak with the Daily Jefferson County Union. Milton and Fort are playing each other in basketball, both boys and girls this weekend, and also competing at the wrestling conference tournament and the swimming conference meet. So figured he'd be a good guy to have on. We'll go ahead and start with Friday. Milton at Fort girls basketball. I guess what are your expectations from Fort and how have they been playing lately?
Well, Fort just dropped a game against Oregon last week, so they're going to be looking to rebound from that. They've become a tough team to play against. The key for Fort is going to be to stop a first half run. That's kind of what's been doing them in this whole season, and if they can go into halftime level or even up, I think it's a good thing for them. And I would expect to see Haya Simmons bounce back. She only had 4 points against the Panthers and got in a little foul trouble, so that kind of threw her off. So I'd expect to see her back and drive into the hoop, and she's normally a tough player to stop when she can get on that 1-2 step. So I think that's key for Fort. How about Milton?
Right. Milton's actually playing their best basketball of the year. Won their first 2 conference games over Monroe last Friday, over Edgewood on Monday. Edgewood was ranked on the state still. I expect them to probably fall pretty far down that after that loss, but Milton's definitely playing the best basketball of the year. Kaylee Harbert made free throws on Friday, 18 of 18. She's getting to the free throw line and making them. She's been a force all year. Bailey Collins on Monday was great down low, offensively and defensively, and I would expect more of the same from the Redhawks on Friday. Their key has been turnovers, as always with every high school basketball team, but when they don't turn the ball over, they're usually in games, and when they do, they can fall out of them pretty quickly. So if they can stay in it by half with Fort, I know that they can pull out a win. But yeah, that's the key, I guess, to the game.
Yeah, and just let all the Milton fans know, might be a little bit of a late start. Fort Atkinson is holding its Wall of Fame game, or Wall of Fame ceremony, in between the JV and varsity games. So don't be a little timid if you walk in on a bit of a ceremony kind of thing if you're going to root on the Redhawks. So just let everybody know that.
Saturday, Milton hosts Fort in boys basketball.
That's right.
Fort beat them the first time this year. Fort won in the girls' first game as well. So Milton in both games is looking to get revenge, but I guess how are the Fort boys playing recently?
Fort, they've been coming down to the wire with a couple teams. They pulled out a win against Stoughton with an Alex Krieger last second 3. They couldn't take that momentum into a Kettle Moraine game though, so they've had about a week off to prepare, and they're going to be playing Monroe on Thursday and leading into that game on Saturday against Milton. The big thing for them is they're going to get Dylan Bernard back, one of their guards who's been out with a bit of a face injury. He's either going to be back against Monroe or for sure against Milton. He's a second team All-Badger kind of guy from last season, and he's definitely going to be either that first or second scoring option. So that's big for the Blackhawks to go along with Tristan Shoup down low. And if they can rebound the way the way they rebound against teams like Edgewood and against Stoughton, then I think they've got a real good chance. How about the Red Hawks?
Well, I know Bernard was out the first game against Milton, and that might have been the reason it was only a 10-point margin. But I think the key for Milton to get their first conference win is to hang in the game until early in the second half, because then the confidence just starts growing, knowing you can actually win that game. They've been falling behind too much too early in the first half due to unforced turnovers, and they get to the line and can't knock down their free throws sometimes, and they really just got to work on getting the ball inside. Coach Corelli said Tuesday's game in Monona Grove, their plan was to get the ball inside, and the first 4 possessions they took 4 3-pointers. So if they work on following the game plan, I think they could keep it interesting. Every Fort Milton battle is usually close, no matter what sport and how good the teams are that year. So I think it'll be interesting. I think Fort is the better team, but that doesn't always mean the better team wins. So
especially not in the Badger South.
Right. Badger South boys basketball is always a grinded out style of game. So we will see about that. Also Saturday is the Badger Conference Wrestling Tournament. For the Milton perspective, they lost to Stoughton last week. They have a long track to come back and win the conference tournament to at least share the conference title with Stoughton. They're going to have to win some unexpected matches at the tournament. But I guess from a Fort perspective, any individuals you're watching out for?
Yeah, I think Cole Beavers is a guy. He started out the season at 285 and moved down to 220 as they kind of rotated their lineup a bit. He's a senior, and he's a guy to watch. Also, Austin Kind, he's also a senior, and I think he'll be wrestling the 170 spot. A lot of tough competition in that Badger, so I think if it's going to be those guys, it'll be those two guys who do well for Fort.
Right. I expect several Milton guys to make it far in the tournament, probably to the finals, a couple of them.
Do you think as a team they win it though?
Win the conference tournament? No. I don't see why they couldn't win some unexpected matches, and Stoughton might, you never know, they might choke, and Milton could come back and score more points at the conference tournament and share the conference title. Likely, probably not, but you never know. High school sports are crazy sometimes, and upsets happen. So
right.
Stoughton, Sauk Prairie, Milton, all state ranked teams will be there. Stoughton is 5th, Sauk Prairie 6th, Milton is 9 or 10. It's a tough conference, and you never know which team will show up on a certain day, especially when you got to wrestle 4 or 5 matches in a day against that tough competition. So we'll see about that. And then also there's the Badger South swimming meet on Saturday. That is taking place in Stoughton, I believe, who has a very nice pool. Milton, well, I guess we'll start with Fort on this one. Fort's higher up in the conference standings, so.
Well, if we're going to go top of the conference standings, you got to go with Monona Grove first off, because they're one of, if not the best team in the state. So first off, for anyone to try and take down Monona Grove, that's going to be a tough battle. On the Fort perspective, their strength lies in their freestyle events, their relays, and guys like Oscar Streeter, Seth Forrester. They're guys who can, who've done well, and they've come close to beating some MG. Oscar Streeter's a guy who can both swim freestyle and as well the breaststroke and butterfly, more of the butterfly actually, and so it kind of depends on where he swims, but he's a guy that I picked to do pretty well. And then Forrester in the 50 and 100. He's always at the top, and their relay too. So those will be two guys and their relay teams to keep an eye on.
Right.
In the Milton perspective.
Sorry to interrupt. I it's kind of going along the same way. Nobody's going to beat Monona Grove. Milton's team in past years was dominant, but now they're down in numbers, and it's really hard to even fill out a lineup. But individually wise, they got some guys that can make some noise. The reason they won't score many points is because of depth wise, but guys like Alex Carey, Colin Hickey, Eric Fons, Nick Porciani, I expect them to do well and maybe surprise some people at the meet. So hopefully both of us will have good news to report on after that meet and some good individual finishes. So yeah, I think that about wraps up this weekend as far as Milton and Fort competing against each other go. I guess if you guys want to follow Jake on Twitter, his handle is at Jacob Onak, which is JACOBONAK. He's a good follow. He updates a lot more regularly than I do from games, so if you want your Fort updates, follow him. Any last messages?
No, none here. I will be seeing you on Friday and Saturday.
Saturday.
Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, no problem.
Also upcoming is the Milton Gymnastics team's huge dual meet with Mount Horeb. It was originally scheduled for Tuesday at home, but inclement weather forced it to be postponed to Monday at Wanakee for a triangular. Milton will technically only compete against Mount Horeb. If Milton wins, it will have an undefeated conference dual meet record heading into the conference meet with the inside track to a Badger Conference title. Mount Horeb is the defending conference champion and also won the Division II state meet last year. Thanks to all you who tuned in this week, and still looking for any advice or suggestions that you would like to see as part of these video segments. I hope you enjoyed this week's with our special guest, and I will see you guys around.